My name is Hiro Ito. I'm a founder of the Kids at Hawaii, and I've been a program director for Kids at Hawaii 17 years. And Kids at Hawaii is a non-profit organization we founded 17 years ago with my wife Cynthia White. And we provide services for the children and teens who separated from one or both parents through death, divorce, parents are incarcerated, deportation nowadays, and also foster children and families, foster children and teens. Main thing is that we do a support groups for the children and teens, but also weekend, and we do surfing, and we do a nakama kite, and we take children to the loi. Other thing is that we come to the Wild Tiki place like this, and then let the children have some fun. Some of the older teens, we have from the foster children, foster teens group, and then they have a challenging life. So we started, it's called High Rising.
High Rising is something super special. It is a social enterprise workforce development project. So it's designed to be self-sustaining while training foster youth and other at-risk youth how to work, how to get a job, and how to keep a job. Then we want to bring partners on board who are interested in having our youth work at their location. The course they run through is 3 months long. At the end of 3 months, we hope to get them either into a solid job that's of interest to them, not just any job, or we also can guide them toward getting into a college education. Our annual fundraiser is coming up on October 27th. It will be at the Ko'olau Ballroom and Conference Center on the golf course there. Beautiful setting, great food, live entertainment, and for the last 2 years it's been tremendously successful. We encourage anyone who is interested in donating any amount or all the way up to purchasing a table.
I too had a kind of a rough childhood growing up. My mom has Alzheimer's, so she doesn't remember who I am. My dad passed away, so I had to pretty much do everything myself. And much like you kids, you know, I didn't have parents, and I had to do it. I had to learn myself. We didn't have money growing up as a kid, so I couldn't go to college. So my message to you would be, you can do anything you want to do. How I got in the business was, my dad was a stuntman. I wanted to be just like my dad, and then he passed away, so I couldn't really get the help from him anymore. So I had to do it myself, and I was a great athlete, so I worked on a lot of TV shows, because I loved playing basketball and football and baseball. So I had an athletic ability, and I turned that into doing stunts. And so I would jump off buildings and get lit on fire and do fight scenes and flip cars, and you name it, I've probably done every stunt in the world. My first movie was a movie called Scarface. You guys probably don't remember this movie, but I go way back to a movie called Scarface, which is a very, very famous movie now. I've worked on Fast and the Furious, I've worked on Jurassic World. Some of my best friends, I was the stunt double for Lou Diamond Phillips. Brandon Lee, who was Bruce Lee's son, he was one of my best friends. I worked on The Crow and Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Jason Scott Lee is a good friend. So I don't know who my favorite actors are, but probably Brandon was one of my favorite people because he was my best friend. We were the same age. You know, I've worked on so many different shows. I don't know which my favorite. I came here 8 years ago. I was born and raised in Hollywood. Came here 8 years ago to do a show called Hawaii Five-0. Fell in love with it, so I stuck my roots here. She was born here. At 3 weeks old, this little one played a part on Hawaii Five-0. She was only 3 weeks old. In our show in Hawaii Five-0, Dano has a baby, and they needed a baby to be born on camera. So I said, how about my daughter? She played a boy, which is funny. She played a boy named Charlie. But they put goop all over her and made it look like she just came out of the womb, and she had sticky, gross stuff all over her, and she was crying and screaming, but that's what they wanted. They wanted her to cry and scream, and that was her first part at 3 weeks old. When I did Hawaii Five-0, I needed fresh faces, and I used every stunt person on the island. There's only probably working maybe like 8 to 10 stunt people on the island. Well, you can't use the same people over and over again, so you need fresh faces. Kaui was one of the first people I met here on the island, a guy named Tanawai. Tanawai doubles The Rock. He's The Rock's stunt double. He's a good friend of mine. And he introduced me to Kaui and said, hey, you got to meet this guy. He can take you to places. And so Kaui and I became friends, and I'm like, look at his size. You know, you got to use this guy. So I used him as a stuntman. He played a part, and he worked a couple times for me, and now he's doing well on his own.
I was once your age. I had a very hard life growing up. My dad had been in prison since I was 5 years old. He came out, I think, in and out. Then when I was 18 or 19, he'd been in there ever since I was 18 years old. After I graduated, he'd never been out yet. So you're looking over my lifespan. I'm 40 years old. He'd been in there probably over 35 years of my life. My son here is Tanoa. He never met his papa. He's 8 years old. My middle child is 12. Never met her papa. My oldest daughter is 22. Never met the papa, which is my dad. And my mom had some problems when we were younger, and so I got brought up by my grandparents. My grandmother, my grandfather, my aunties, and my uncles raised 23 of us at your age in a 3-bedroom house, 1 bath. So, my message to you guys, no matter what you guys are going through, you have your grandparents, you have your uncles, you have your aunties, that's something that's very important that carried me to the person I am today. It was a very hard life for me. Financially wise, our family was very broke, but we had challenges like every family on the island. So for me, I'm just very blessed to meet good people, and Tanawai I knew, and he knew what my background was growing up being a professional athlete as a boogie boarder. Surfing, I did MMA, I did boxing, and so on. So using that type of, all of that learning throughout the years, it made it a lot easier for me to become a stuntman, you know what I mean? I actually met The Rock from Tanawai, who actually introduced me to Jeff in the year 2001. And ever since 2001, we became great friends, personal friends. In this business, it's all about relationships. For me, I never did ask him or Tanawai if I could work with them. So just so happened when Jumanji came here, about 3 years ago, Jumanji was filmed there, and they had an audition to do his stand-in work and his body double and photo double work. And just so happened, over a couple thousand people, I got picked. And after that, he carried on. It was a great experience on the movie Jumanji. How many of you guys saw Jumanji? You saw Jumanji? Right. So, for me, that was one of the good projects I worked on. I got along with, how many of you guys know Kevin Hart? Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Nick Jonas, Karen Gillan. So for me, it was a good project because instead of just doing the standing work, I was very blessed to actually read the lines off camera. So when you're in a movie, you have camera A and camera B. And camera A, you have your main actors, and camera B, you have somebody reading the script. And I was very fortunate to actually interact with the real actors and reading the lines. So I actually learned and got better, and I made a good relationship with all the main actors. And to be honest with you guys, those guys are so down to earth. They're so busy, and everybody's running to them and asking for the autographs or pictures. Sometimes it gets a headache. But those guys have been very, very nice and kind to me on set. Meeting Jeff about 9 years ago when he came to Hawaii from Tanawai Reed, and this gentleman here gave me my first stunt job. And ever since that, he's been blessing me with a lot of jobs. And the last one we just did was probably about a month ago. And to be honest, it was probably one of my favorite projects that I worked on because it was to do with video games that you kids love to do, and my son here loves playing video games. There's an audition that we had to do, and there's a lot of people that came. And it's not easy work being a stuntman or any type of business in the movie business, being an actor or a stunt coordinator or a director, and so on and so on. So you have to put your minds to it, you have to be up here, and you have to go for it. Like Jeff said, you guys can do whatever you guys want to do. And I'm very thankful for being here, and it means a lot to me to talk to you kids.